Hello, welcome to the third episode of the MLS podcast with me, Luke Flanagan. I'm actually recording this from the KCOM Stadium in Hull, which is the music you can hear behind me, and Thom is over in Colorado. How are you doing, Thom?
I'm doing well, Luke, thanks. I'm doing well. How are you?
Yeah,
Broadcasting from your celebrity location.
I'm good. I don't know about celebrity. I'm sat in a very empty stadium watching two teams warm up.
It's more glamorous than your kitchen table, though, which is where I am. So.
Yeah. Well, you're in a more glamorous location than Hull, though. I mean, you're in Denver, which is pretty cool, and I'm in Hull, which is kind of not. So
I don't really know how to counter that, mate.
Swings and roundabouts. So obviously it's been a week since we had a chat, and we've got a couple games to talk about first before we preview the final, haven't we? We were going to. Should we do we'll do them in order. Do you want to talk about the Columbus versus Revs Eastern Conference final?
Yeah, let's start there. If I were to reach into my big bag of football cliches, I think I would probably call this a tense, closely contested affair, as it was 1-0 to Columbus.
It was.
The Crew against New England Revolution. I do think, firstly, a bit of shameless own horn tooting. Definitely predicted Columbus, not for any particular reason, just...
You did say that. You did say that at the time. You said, "I'm going to go with them, but I don't really have a reason for doing that."
So I can't really take too much credit. But the Crew played well. I think they had the better of the game, and that they deserved probably to go through on by the end of the game. I think that they had deserved it, but it was a pretty cagey affair.
It wasn't. It didn't live up to the hype. I think because there's so many players for both teams going forward that are kind of exciting players, because we mentioned like Carlos Hill, and we also mentioned Zardes, and it kind of was a bit of a wet fart, if you pardon the expression.
Wow. I would have gone with damp squib, but okay.
It wasn't the best, was it? The two teams cancelled each other out, and they were clearly trying to make sure that, it was cagey, wasn't it? It was cagey because neither of them wanted to lose, so it came down to a single goal in the end. But
I think when you look at both the semi-finals, or both the conference finals, you've got the two extremes, and obviously we'll talk about Seattle and Minnesota in a moment. But one of them was quite a lively, explosive, end-to-end type number, and then the other was quite a tense. Starting with a point and moving from there, the old Allardyce approach.
Yeah.
It felt a bit. There were a couple. I just rewatched the highlights to refresh my memory. There were a couple of times I was a little frustrated that Zardes was really flat on his heels when shots were raining in, because the Crew did seem to be raining in a whole pile of shots. I think that the New England goalkeeper was kept very busy.
Yeah.
But it was not quite as exciting a game as you might have hoped for.
It was. I wouldn't call it a snooze fest, but it wasn't. I expected a lot better from both teams, I'll be honest. But when you get to that stage, sometimes it just kind of the occasion catches up with people, and it's much easier to be conservative in a game like that. The other thing is there wasn't an early goal. I think if there was an early goal, it would have opened up. And if you get to half time 0-0, you know it's going to be a close struggle. So
there was a shot that came off the post in the first half for the Revs.
Yeah.
It just came off the near post. The Revs goalie made six saves over the course of the game. I'm pulled the stats up on the MLS website because there are a couple of things I wanted to flag up. The first thing is they do a shot map, which I really like.
Yeah.
Except that when your team doesn't have a lot of good shots, all of the lines are like these hugely straight lines that seem confident shots, except that they're going off miles to the right or left of you. It looks like because of the straight arrow that they're intentionally being delivered there, and surely no one from Columbus was trying to aim halfway between the goal and the edge of the 18-yard box. That seems unlikely.
You'd have hoped not.
Something else I thought I would mention, I had a season ticket for the Rapids a few years ago, and I used to play the fantasy MLS game And there were a couple of players playing last night who were absolute stalwarts in that. So I just wanted to bring them up. But Darlington Nagby used to be a sounder.
Yeah, he did.
I'd forgotten that he had rocked up at the Crew, I think, a couple of years ago. And then Zardes obviously was at Galaxy. Jonathan Mensah is the other one. He was playing in the centre of midfield at the time. He seems to have moved slowly backwards into the back four. He was playing at centre back for Columbus Crew. But it was nice to see him crop up. He got the assist also for the goal.
Yeah. Just one word on Nagby. I think to be fair, I think Nagby was a big part of the Timbers.
That's right. Sorry, I said a sounder there. They're going to be coming for me with a chainsaw.
That's a slip, isn't it?
That's a big slip. I'm sorry. I'd like to apologise. He was never a sounder. He was always a Timber. Please don't kill me with a chainsaw.
But also, Nagby and Santos are not going to be playing, are they? Because both of them are out because of COVID.
Yeah.
So that'll be a miss for the next game. Obviously, they were crucial to the win in the conference final, but because they don't have them there, I kind of think that's a little bit of a blur to the Crew's chances.
It's a definite loss. Nagby is a very, very classy little player, and he will be an absolute loss.
I think he's a US international now, isn't he? Because he was born in Liberia, but I don't think he really ever played for them. I think because he's been in the US so long, he qualified to play for the States, to represent the States. So obviously that's the US's game, to be fair. But
Liberian.
Yeah.
He's 30 now. But he will be a loss for them. I have a soft spot for him, selfishly, just because his first name is Darlington. Obviously very close to my hometown of Middlesbrough.
That's it.
It's not the world's nicest place, to be fair.
Hello, Middlesbrough. I mean, what's...
Man, we've been to some places, mate.
We've seen some things, man, and some stuff. So, yeah, I mean, obviously, if we look at their opponents coming up, they left it late in Seattle against
did
Minnesota. It was 2-0 with 20 minutes to go.
Yes, it was 2-1 with about 4 minutes to go.
It was, yeah. So Reynoso had a bit of a masterclass, particularly first half.
He two great free kicks.
Yeah,
the first to score, which he curled over the wall and then to the right. Watching the replay. Watching it live, it was a very impressive free kick. Watching the replay, you're looking at the wall, the gentleman in the wall who didn't jump. You maybe have a few questions about. I understand why you don't want to jump and let the ball smack you in the face, because that's absolutely what would have happened. Sometimes it went in because he didn't do that.
That's it. You'd expect your wall to block it with whatever they could, within reason and legality within the laws. So he should be. Yeah. He should be doing that. He was kind of flat-footed a bit, but you can't take out away from that free kick.
No, it was a great free kick, and then the second goal was assisted from a lovely free kick that was just put on a plate. Just a spectacular cross.
Was.
And sweep and headed home, but Minnesota only had 7 shots total, and most of those came in the first half. And even in the first half, Seattle had a go.
They had a lot of the ball and a lot of the chances.
Yeah.
They just found, they were very much. I think in the States you call it a low block, but I think you'd call it more of a defensive approach and playing on the counter, because that's effectively what they did. That second goal that Minnesota scored was very much against the run of play for me. But it was.
But at the time, it felt like it might be, a killer blow.
That's right. Because
Seattle were raining shots down. Jordan Morris hit absolutely smashed one off the post.
It nearly broke.
It had one of those classic sounds of the post ringing from the impact of the shot that always sounds awesome.
Yeah, it proper span back out and then went out for a goal kick. He must have hit that with such force. Felt like it cracked the post in half. But then obviously when it gets to 2-1. You would always fancy the Sounders to pull something out of the game.
They definitely had momentum, didn't they?
They did, yeah.
And they able to bring on a player as experienced as Will Bruin, who's another one from those fantasy MLS soccer days. He's 31 now, and he's a bit of a journeyman. Not really.
Houston.
Actually,
Houston,
Seattle and Houston. But he's scored 71 goals across 262 appearances in MLS.
I mean, it's not bad. I mean, before he came back for the MLS's back tournament, and he'd been out injured for a year. He did, I think he did
Yeah.
a cruciate or something. So he's just coming back to full fitness, really, when you think about it. So he's been a shrewd acquisition because,
But
to come, I think he
was
came
able-
off the bench, and Rui Diaz, remember, as well, had the ball in the
Yeah,
net, and
well,
it was disallowed for a shove.
Yeah, the first that he had a very interesting game. He had 8 total shots. He got a goal disallowed by everybody's favorite VAR. He did shove the guy.
It was a foul.
So it was a foul. But, he was clean through after he applied a bit of hip action to that.
I think it was smart play, and I think again, if you don't have the VAR, that turns the game at that point, and it looked like everything was against the Sounders, didn't it? Because that went against them.
Yeah.
But obviously,
and they just hit the post, and Debasi made a few saves, and it didn't seem like it was going to be their night, especially when that second goal went in, and then what a turnaround! And Rui Diaz was all over the place. You would have thought there was 2 of it. He managed to get the assist for Bruin's goal. He managed to shunt it over to him enough for him to clip it off the post and in.
Yeah,
it was a good placed shot. They almost scored from right before they scored on the corner. The goalie had to make a pretty excellent save to keep it out in the first place.
Was good, that one, yeah.
It felt West Ham Man United last weekend.
Yes.
I don't know if you saw that.
I did, yeah.
But West Ham went 1-0 up, and they probably should have gone at least one more up. There was a great chance where Sebastian Haller got his studs all tangled in the turf.
Yeah.
They said he just fell over on TV. I felt a bit sorry for him. We've all been there. He got his studs caught in the turf and twisted, and he was probably worried about his knees. I know I would have been.
Yeah.
But they went in 1-0 at half time, and you were thinking, if United get one, this is back on. Mm-hmm. And lo and behold, United duly got 1, 2, and then 3 goals and swung it around.
Yeah.
And it felt a bit like that here. They were 2-0 up. Shots were raining down. If they were either going to win 2-0 by frustrating the heck out of the Sounders, or the Sounders were going to turn it around, and they did. It took them the 90th plus minute to make that stick.
I think it was the 93rd when Svensson heads in that
corner. Yeah.
I mean, he was an unlikely match winner because he's a deep line midfielder. Really, he's been playing. It kind of plays either instead of or alongside of João, who's been quite good this season, but I think he's not hit the heights that people thought he would. The number 6 for Seattle. But I think, maybe it's 4. Is it the 4 out of 5 last finals Seattle have now made?
Yes.
It's some record, isn't it?
They get the job done.
They do.
And they did it again today. And they stopped a Minnesota team that had, taken quite a lot of scalps, I think. And also the Rapids.
Yeah, well,
I don't think was taking a scalp. But
I do think, I think if it's against anyone else, they see that out. I think it's just the class that they have up front, Sounders, when you've got either Ladera or Rui Diaz or Morris.
When you can bring Bruin off the bench as well.
As a poacher. I think they've just kind of got that little edge. I think Seattle don't often play. They haven't this season. They haven't played brilliantly in different parts. They've been beaten by like Galaxy and LAFC, and they lost to the Rapids, didn't they? Towards the back end of the season, they got done at the Rapids home 3-1, I think. So there've been some games where they've not been on it at all, but it's a one-off game now. How do we see the final going? Because that's later today / tonight, depending on when you're listening or where you're listening.
Just remembering a particularly dour 1-0. Was it? Did Seattle beat Toronto 1-0 or did it go to penalties?
It was 0-0.
It was 0-0 and then it went to penalties. I remember watching that game in a bar downtown for God knows what reason, but it was not good.
No, that was awful. I think the winning penalty was scored by Roman Torres, I think.
Yes.
But that was when they had Giovinco playing, and they were the best side in MLS by a long stretch.
Build up to the World Cup in 2016.
I think it was actually, because then they
then
went
Torres
with Panama. They put the US out, didn't they? So
I think that I think was about the same time because the US got it still hurts a little bit, to be honest.
When Panama get to the World Cup and they're in England's group, and England made very, very short work of a very dirty side. Let's say that.
Yeah, it was 6-1, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was.
England,
Yeah. Harry Kane with like
a series of
hat-trick.
really it was an unimpressive 6-1 victory, which is classic England.
Yeah, pretty much.
Somehow managing to put away a small team, whilst still suggesting that if they were playing a big team, they'd lose.
It's just remarkable that the US at that time were in such disarray to get beat by somebody like Panama. I don't think it would happen now. I will say that, because I think that.
Well, did you happen to catch any of the 6-0 thrashing?
I did. I kept up with it. They made very light work of El Salvador. Wasn't it?
It was a very young MLS heavy team, though. So I feel like we should probably give that a mention.
I think I was. I think it was. Was it 4 or 5 by half time?
5. Yeah, it was 5 by 27 minutes.
They just blew them away, and then they kind of just took the foot off the gas in the second half. But that's impressive, and I like that about it, because you've got so many American-based MLS players representing the country and doing so well. They're not just getting a 1-0 against a team like El Salvador; they're actually brushing them away with very little, effort.
Yeah, I mean that's what. There really wouldn't have been any acceptable result other than an absolute thrashing.
No, but they
or at least a comfortable win. But 5-0 up inside 27 minutes. It's pretty good going.
It is, absolutely. I was impressed with that. Obviously, again, the games tonight. Do we see a very cagey affair? Is that what you were expecting, or?
Well, without Nagby and Sanos, I think that's going to be a real big blow to the crew.
Yeah,
they've got to figure out a way of playing without them, and that's going to be a challenge. Finals always strike me as being slightly cagier. Seattle obviously have got so much talent, and goals can come from a lot of different places, but you'd assume that Rui Diaz will fancy it. He had an absolute stormer in the semi-finals, or the conference final.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be. I think Seattle are probably going to win.
You think it'll be closer than a lot of people would probably give it credit? You're going for a 2-1 maybe?
I think crew are going to be really tough to break down. I think the crew will be tough to break down, but Seattle will figure it out, and I think they might win 2-0.
I think
But I'm happy to be proved wrong.
Yeah, I knew you would. I saw, interestingly, this will be up your street. I saw it was a tweet, I think, earlier today. There was a map of the US, and it said,
oh, was it with the different pictures of the clubs that were popular in different areas?
No, it wasn't. I saw that one. That was interesting. But also, it was who wants who to win in the in MLS is MLS playoff final. Just Washington State had the Seattle logo on. Everywhere else had the crew on. So, I kind of get the feeling that you'd kind of subscribe to that idea.
Well, yes, that's true.
Yeah.
But I think that it's always a bit more interesting when a different team wins. That's what's funny about MLS is in the league structure, it does feel like pretty much anyone can beat anyone. And then at the end, Seattle wins, which it feels a bit like that. Whose quote is that? Football's a simple game. Both teams with the ball for 90 minutes, and in the end, the Germans win. Except instead of the Germans, it's Seattle.
Right. Well, in terms of the preview for the final, I think that's probably a good place to leave it.
Wait, we've got to nail you down for a prediction, mate.
Oh, I didn't make my prediction. I think it'll be 2-1. And I think Columbus will score first. I think it'll go similarly. I think they'll sit back. I think they might score either from a set piece or from a breakaway. And I think it'll then just be up to Seattle to have all the possession, see if they can break through. Obviously, they did against Minnesota. I don't know if they will do against the crew, because it's the one-off game. It's the last game of the season. So they'll be giving everything, I'm sure. But yeah, I'm going to go 2-1 Seattle.
All right, mate. So we got to pause in time here and then pick it up after the game.
Well, I think what we'll do is we'll do this as a preview so people can listen, and then we'll record a new one I won't say straight after the final, but very soon after the final to give our thoughts on whoever won, whether it is the crew or whether it is the Sounders.
All right, mate. That sounds excellent.
Good stuff.
Enjoy your reporting on Hull City.
I will, hopefully.
And is Hull, what tier is Hull? 3?
Yeah, tier 3. Yeah.
Oh wow! So you're getting to be in the stadium even though it's tier 3.
Yeah.
Look at that.
They're reviewing it on the 16th, which is midweek. So it could be tier 2, and there could be fans next week. So you'll have to see.
I think Middlesbrough's in the same boat.
Yeah,
So.
pretty much
enjoy.
Pretty much everywhere in the north is tier 3. All the south is tier 1 or 2, so they get fans and we don't. But moving on from that, we'll talk again very soon, probably tomorrow, and then we'll record our post-match thoughts on the final.
All right, mate. It's good to chat to you.
Good to chat to you too. Speak to you very soon, man.
See you later.